Welcome, everyone, to the Women of Soul Aligned Business podcast. I'm Joe Che. I am here with Anna Bek. She is a long-term friend and a founder of Anna Bek Studio, a creative studio for travel and editorial photography, exploring the art of seeing perception and the unseen layers of beauty through neuroscience, image making, soulful creative direction. She's been working a lot with thought leadership. So welcome, Anna.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here.
I have found that you have such a precise style taste, and it's so beautiful where everything just sort of matches perfectly. And you've been building this business for how long now?
I mean, aren't we always building for our entire lives?
For true. How long of this iteration?
I think that my journey isn't really a linear one. I really do feel like it's been my whole life. But if I could put an exact date on this iteration of the website, I would say probably since 2021.
Beautiful. So you've had some time to set everything up, start getting things so that things are funneling and it feels really authentic for you. And it was really interesting when you sent in things that you can talk about that you think that might be useful for women who are building businesses in their first year. I have to say yours was the most organized and the most impressive. And so there's a bunch of things that I would like to maybe some topics to talk about that I think would be really useful. The first one is talking about rhythm instead of hustle. Can you talk a little bit about that when you're going through your business? What does that mean? Instead of just hustling all the time, like finding your rhythm. This felt really interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of that came from having spent so much time having a business in Los Angeles that was based there and being very much a part of the hustle culture, very much a part of the film and television industry there, and having to kind of prove myself as I was younger that I was to be taken seriously. So it was this very distinct program. Also being an only female in a lot of the jobs that I had. So hustle culture is definitely where I came from. I think a lot of Americans as well have that internal program. And I think there's some beauty to that because it gives us fire. It gives us, drive to get things done, which is a very important component to business. But I think once I started leaving those spaces and exploring more into life in the jungle, living in Bali and such, other places around the world, I realized how other people live, their rhythms, and what did and didn't really work for me anymore. And I noticed that it was a conscious effort to sort of reprogram out of hustle mode. And I think that a lot of that came as well from burnout from my last production company that I used to run. Just wanting to change gears and change life and live a bit more connected to my own rhythm and not feel like I was constantly behind, although that's always a daily practice to feel like, okay, there's always something more to do, but it's about setting up life more intentionally so that you have more freedom, more control over your own time, your own schedule. You can make space for your practices and your well-being and connecting with friends and having, well-balanced approach to day-to-day life and living. Yeah, I think so.
What recommendations would you have to help get someone, especially if they're in that mode when you're starting a new business? There's just a lot to do, which we'll talk more about that. Mm-hmm. But how do you sort of balance that with and create that rhythm for yourself? What sort of advice would you give to women who are starting these businesses?
Sure. I think that starting a business often comes with a lot of excitement, anticipation. There's this desire to have things exactly as you want them to be, much faster than is realistic. I think when you're getting that going, just the bare bones, the beginning, it's important to a couple of things. First, have a really clear sense of where you're heading and what feels like a good daily rhythm for you so that you're building intentionally every part of that business. Because it's not just about where you'll be in once you've reached some level of success. It's more about what does your day-to-day look like? That really is the business. If you don't enjoy the journey or the components of building, then it's not going to be sustainable, I think. When you're taking a leap from working for someone else to working for your own business or for yourself, I think that it's good to sort of think about some of the practical things that come with that. Like before I took the leap and left the United States or left working in film and television or all of that, I was very particular about having a bit of money put away just so that if there were months where I wanted to study or explore or travel or just take it a little bit slower, I wasn't so stressed about paying rent or these really foundational things, because if you're in a sort of flight and you're constantly trying to figure out how am I going to pay for this or pay for that, it really disrupts your flow and your capacity.
Absolutely. When we're in that scarcity mindset and that scarcity mode, we tend to make decisions that take us out of our alignment. Because it's like, okay, I had this opportunity for money. There's a client that I know is going to be a fucking disaster and take up all my time, but I need the money, so then you take it, and then you end up with more clients like that, and you get kind of further away from what you truly want to be doing and what you really desire. So I think, like, one, there's two components. There's the reality to it, which is I have money or I don't, or I have a safety blanket to fall back on. And then there's another component, which I find most of the time is it's really a mindset. It's a scarcity mindset of always being like afraid. You know, I remember having that for the longest time. It took me so long to get over this scarcity mindset. Like I literally had to take a small travel-on suitcase and go around the world by myself where I didn't know people to find my identity with who I was, because I had sold my first business and it wasn't a gigantic amount of money, but it was a lot for me. You know, coming from being poor, I was like questioning how much money do I need? And I realized I was so scared of losing everything again. So I was just operating always out of scarcity. And it's still difficult sometimes. There's some, you know, sometimes it's feast and sometimes it's famine. And it's like, even though I've created a very nice cushion for myself, I still find myself going back into scarcity mindset, especially when I'm doing a new project and it's not going as fast enough. The money's not flowing as fast enough. I shouldn't do this and I should do something else. And my ADHD brain takes over and like it tends to follow the shiny objects. And, you know, sometimes we just need to stay the course and just be like, no, I'm supposed to do this. And I need to just keep digging in and keep doing it until it's successful. And if we're really called to that thing, it's something that purpose driven, it will be successful because that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that I want to highlight in that. The main thing with scarcity mindset, and I find myself also like noticing it more, but also almost being repelled when I'm in the presence of it because it's so jarring. I'm like, no, I don't want to be in that rhythm. It can infiltrate your sense of fear and doubt. And fear and doubt are the main things that you have to remove to manifest. If you start to doubt yourself or doubt the flow or doubt where you're heading, it really can block you unintentionally. So it's real. And there was a second point in there about this idea of true north. I know you've spoken about it. I guess it's a lead magnet freebie kind of thing that's called the True North Blueprint that is on my website and newsletter and all the things. But even more than that, it's that clarity of vision and knowing exactly, you don't have to know exactly where you're going, but at least having that point in mind that sort of guides all of your actions, so that you can align your actions and your behaviors for where you want to go, where you want to grow. And I think that that's sort of the first place you want to start, is giving yourself time to orient, with that direction. Then positioning yourself every single day with your actions and behaviors in alignment with that, and try to remove fear and doubt and just show up. And it's not like every day your true north will stay the same. I mean, you're perfectly allowed to pick it up, that pinpoint, and set it someplace else. And I think that that's also a very important component to a soul-aligned business, is that the business is not always going to be the same if it's aligned with your soul, because your soul is consistently growing and expanding, and it's like what you're interested in and what feels good and what's feasible and what's flowing is going to change. I think it's important to be able to adapt with that, to flow with the change, to understand that it's definitely a part of it. I mean, any business is that way, but with regards to a soul-aligned business, especially as you're starting out, gives you a little bit of leeway. It's like, okay, I want to have clarity of my vision, my true north, but also know that I'm going to probably make so many pivots.
There's been times when I've made an entire program, spent like 7-8 months, and then I do the program and actually be like, what? That's not truly authentic to me. I thought that's the way to go, and I got good advice to go in that direction. And everyone telling me to go in this direction, and I do it. And it's like sometimes we just got to check in with the trueness of what we're supposed to be doing. And when you're in that is when like you doing it and you're just lit up and you're so excited and you're getting those emails and messages, and it's like, thank you. Oh my God, you helped me in such a big way. You really made a big impact in my life. And those are the times that you kind of validate that you're in the right path, but not always. Sometimes they don't come. I want to talk about something that you're really good at, which is creating a second brain in your business. This is a topic that doesn't get talked about a lot in these podcasts, and I feel like you'd be a good person to talk about this because to me, I think this is so crucial. It's one of the first things that I'm teaching women when I'm doing mentorships and I do my 12-month program. First thing we do is we create that second brain. So can you talk a little bit about that, what you're using and why?
Sure. So there's a guy named Tiago Forte who came up with this idea. And it's essentially a way to distill all of your thoughts and organize them. I have so many projects through the years, and I read a lot. And I have multiple articles that I write, chapters of books, ideas for podcasts, product ideas. Everything under the sun now, for me, lives on a Notion. I use Notion. It's a beautiful, like, open source, free. I mean, there's paid tiers for some of the more premium features, but it's a beautiful resource. It takes really no time. You watch a few of their onboarding videos and then use a few templates and just start to build what would feel really good to organize yourself. Like, you can build it pretty quickly. It's not like super hard, the barrier of entry to onboard yourself to like some new tech. It's pretty straightforward and I think really simple. And in its simplicity and in its minimalism, it has so much ability to capture everything that you need really cleanly so that you can access it. So, for example, my Notion has the main ones are like everything for Studio Anna Bek, and then everything for my own personal admin, and then everything for like my manifesting spaces, which are multifaceted. It's not just business, it's relationships and home and career and just other life goals. The one I spend the most time on, obviously, is my Studio Anna Bek, and within that, the one that I'm in currently right now is the journal where I've been writing all of my articles. And within each page, there's certain versions of drafts, and it's a way to distill all of the things that I work on, keep them very organized, and then have versions, and then you can share things if you want with people, but it's you can control what people see and what people can edit, just like you can in any of the sort of Google Workspace ecosystem. And yeah, I mean, Notion's got a lot of AI integrations. You can integrate it with ChatGPT. Usually use it that way, but you can. There's some sort of app-related barriers there, but I think that it's worthwhile to look into because for most creatives, at least, we're very scattered, and it's like you get ideas all over the place. I used to be like one of those people that had papers everywhere, and then I would take photos of the Post-its after the stacks of paper were Post-its, and then it was just chaos. And then if you're on the road and you want to have everything in one place, even a journal doesn't really make sense, like a handwritten something or sheets of paper. It's for me. It's immensely useful. Like I could go on, but you can look up all the principles about Tiago Forte and his work, and he's consistently also putting out programs to teach people how to integrate these things. And there's books, and it's pretty accessible.
Amazing. I love that, Anna, and I think I always encourage people I'm mentoring to do that first thing. Because it's basically the way that I look at it is it's a place for everything. Number one, to get all, like you said, all the things that are in your head, you can get them out of your head and you can put them somewhere. There's a task I need to do. get it out of your head, get it into digital, and that creates more processing space to work on the task at hand. And it takes like, when we're trying to carry a memory of something we need to do, it actually stresses us out and distracts us. So, and there's times that, and there's a time to do tasks, and there's a time that task is going to force us to make it feel like we need to do it immediately, and it might not be the thing we need to do immediately. It might be actually a very low priority item. It's something that we need to do. We need to message someone on something. But if we're constantly operating out of like the immediacy of what we think of we need to do, we never seem to really get to the things that matter, the things that will get you over the line, that are like the whole 80-20 rule, that we work 80% on the 20% that actually that doesn't matter. And then, so how do we focus on that 20% that really matters? And the trick is to get everything into tasks and prioritize them. And then the lower level items, they'll just sit there for a while, and it's okay. You get to them when it becomes higher priority. And so it's a great task management system, Notion. And the other option is, the other thing you do with it is I put all my business processes in it. This is how you edit podcasts. If it's a 1 camera, 2 camera, or 3 camera angle, this is how you use the AI. This is how you make clips in Opus or in Riverside or whatever it's you're using. And here's the database of all the reels and the podcasts that are making. And the other thing it does is it allows you to scale when you start bringing in virtual assistants, other team members, things like social media help, or if you're going to hire a right hand. Because if not, then you need to literally train those processes one-on-one with everyone that you bring in. But if you have it inside your Notion or any other project management system, everything's right there. How did you know when it was time to get help, to get other team members, or to outsource or delegate, if you're doing that?
Yeah, when I was back in Bali, I was shooting. I'm not currently there, but I was shooting a lot, and I had a lot of post-production that I needed. And I had already had like assistants for, in the day-to-day, like production assistants, lighting assistants, things like that. And then I started having editors that I would throw things to, because there was only so much creative bandwidth I have between going out on shoots and then doing all the edits, and then it was like also the video edits and the media downloading and the media management and all that. So I realized that my time was the finite resource, and I don't really want my time and my physical presence to equal how I make a living. So I started outsourcing things. I mean, I've outsourced things here and there to different people that were not necessarily independent contractors in the way that I'm using them now. But like certain people have helped me in my business, through the years. But I've never had any full-time employees, mostly because I need people to kind of keep me in check. I don't really like micromanaging other people so much. So when I need help, I ask for it. And it took me a while to start doing that. But also that was part of getting through that scarcity mindset. Oh, I don't have money to pay people. I don't have enough coming in. And so it definitely takes a minute to trust that the time that it frees up for you and the capacity that it frees up for you is going to be worthwhile. Now I just have one assistant who does not so much for me, just for where I'm at this chapter. But having her is super important to me, mostly because, she does things in person for me in Bali because I have another business there. And then also, just kind of somebody to be on my team. I'm otherwise sort of a solopreneur. And she helps me with a lot of, I guess you'd say, like whiteboard sessions where we're kind of workshopping things and trying to figure out a strategy, or I just need somebody to review something or to edit something quick. For me, there's so much value in having a second opinion or just somebody to just be on your team. She's like my cheerleader. But that said, I definitely could scale up more. Like for a while there, had like 4 or 5 people that I needed in the day-to-day. But at the moment, I'm not in the same production flow. Like I'm not shooting as much here while I'm in the United States.
Sometimes being a solopreneur can be really lonely, and it can also be, it's something as I've noticed is sometimes it's good just to even be part of a group or a circle that you can check in, or have an accountability partner. When I'm doing like my group mentorships, I actually put women in groups of 3 and 4, and they just check in every week with each other. And just because sometimes it feels really good to just be like, hey, this is what I did. this is what I need to do. Here's where I'm blocked. And other people can just be like, can help you with that and say, oh, let me try to unblock you. Or sometimes you just need someone to listen, or you just need a second opinion. I think, I've been thinking about doing this course or this course. Like, what do you think would land better and why? And having those reflection boards, I think, can be really crucial in building a business. And it doesn't have to even be a paid one. Sometimes you can just find someone that can help you. They can be a good friend that's actually good at business that you respect, that they don't mind giving you a little time here or there. But I think having consistency every week actually is very useful for me into, etc. And sometimes, it can be employees that you hire. Hey, let's go over all the things we're working on. Sometimes it can just be, or if you're really lucky, you can find a mentor that will do it, that is a really good fit for you, that's actually going to help you get there a hell of a lot faster. And it's funny because I say mentor, and I intentionally say mentor over coach. I realize the difference is a mentor is someone that has already done the things that you have done and is helping you, give you the advice. And a coach, which can still be very useful, is someone that doesn't know what you're actually doing, but they're kind of like helping you, cheerlead you, and use processes to get you further along. I'm actually not a huge fan of like coaches. I think they can be really useful, but it's been also hard for me to find a mentor and it's like, because it can be really difficult to find a mentor that you resonate with. Have you had them before, mentors or coaches?
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about asking for help these days. For a very long time, I felt the need for a mentor. And I have had people that have mentored me, whether they are aware of it or not, but people I've looked up to, people I've studied under through the years. So after my injury and while I was in recovery, I started not seeing somebody. I had like sessions with a coach, virtual sessions, and she was so incredibly helpful just to help me shift my perspective and open my eyes to other ways of operating. And she was very encouraging, and she would send me articles and links, and I would start to change my viewpoint about many components of what I was wanting to do, what was possible with my limitations, because my recovery was so long. And she would often say, like, I'm supposed to be your coach. I can't be your mentor. And I'm like, I don't know. This is just what I need. But it kind of blurred. She was very high level with her knowledge. I really appreciated her at that chapter of my life. I think there's a lot of value in it. There's a lot of platforms that you can use. They don't have to be like some high level program that's really expensive. I didn't really spend that much money at all for some very good value advice and such. I think it's really just somebody to help point you in a direction that you might have a blind spot in, AI is really good for that now as well. And I think that I can only emphasize how important that is now, to be training yourself, to be utilizing that technology, because I now use, ChatGPT or Claude, sometimes Perplexity or Gemini for my mentorship now. It's like you can ask all kinds of questions there and get a lot of great insight. I mean, obviously, it's a multi-use platform for so many good things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is, for me, it's become a staple in working. And at the same time, it's still, you can't really fully trust it, number one. And it doesn't always give you amazing advice because it doesn't really understand all the intricacies. Maybe 5 years from now, when we've given it our entire life data and it knows everything about us, and it can like go to the internet and look at all of our past history and jobs, etc., it's going to get better. But for me, it's more of a good starting point. And like, I've trained the shit out of it. Like, I have my own AI. I've built a bunch of AIs around communication frameworks to help people have better levels of communication, because I've noticed with a lot of the people I work with, communication tends to be a big block and a big problem, or it's a reason why they're having a lot of stress and misalignment in their life is actually around the communication. So I built a bunch of AIs. They're free. I have them. People can message me if they want. And I've been training it on my entire book, on all my speeches, etc. And it still is like, okay, it's a good starting point, but and there's something about it that's like, it was really funny when I built this AI. Someone had, one of my employees was like, hey, I think this guy's podcast is ripping you off. And because it literally had the exact same statement. And I'm like, this guy's famous. Maybe, why is he jacking my shit here? And then I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if that came from AI suggesting something that was someone doing two similar things. And so I'm wondering if AI was actually just going to sort of make things more homogenous over time, where like people are saying the same shit because AI is telling them to say that, when in reality, like, how do we still stay from our truth and like really share from that authentic self? And that's been hard for me in social media, like staying authentic. Like in a podcast, it's easy. I can talk to you. We can riff and be real with each other. But you know, when you're in the talking head, in the beginning, people are like, you sound like a robot. And I was so offended. And then I'm like, okay, I need to be more expressive. So now I'm talking like this. And then it's like, that's inauthentic. It's like, how do you find that place? I'm sure people can relate to that, right? Like, and then I'm supposed to like take a balloon and throw a purse up in the air to get people's attention. And it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right.
Well, I think it's interesting that you expressed that right here, right now, in front of this sign that says soul aligned. And the reason why I want to emphasize that is because lately I've written, I wrote an article recently. It's called The Origin of Thought. And I'm sitting there in this writing process and I'm like, really? Do we even have original thoughts anymore? Because everything that I'm thinking about thoughts and in this world of metacognition, really, everything that I'm already thinking, they probably already thought it. So like, really, there's nothing original anymore. So to your point about, you know, what you were saying and the other person saying the same thing and AI's place in it and the homogenous nature of where things are going, I think that it's more important than ever to insert yourself in what feels soul aligned. So like, if you're feeling like this isn't authentic, then it's not soul aligned. If you're feeling like the robotic is more your vibe, then flow with it, go with it. See what happens when you refine it, iterate on it, and just continue to make what feels right and soul aligned for you better. Because that's the only thing that humanizes something. Because AI is the only thing that doesn't have a soul. In theory, the artificial intelligence could replace all of our thoughts because none of our thoughts are really original. But our soul, which is like a universal consciousness discussion, we all kind of have souls that pass through constellations. It's this whole thing that I've been thinking about lately. But if you stay true to what feels right for you, I mean, it's sometimes you got to clear through the clutter just to find that. But that's what's going to be the shining object. It's going to be the soul alignment. It's going to be authentic. People will resonate with the authenticity. And that pretty much will be the gold in this era of things being hyper disrupted by technology.
Yeah, I was facilitating on this yacht in Croatia, and this guy, Emanuela, was one of the founders of the first AI companies back in the 70s, and he's been in this game for a long time. He told me, he's like, I'm not scared of the post-apocalyptic AI takeover. He's like, what I'm really scared of and what I'm looking at is that most of the jobs are going to be gone in the next few years. So he's been going to all the government agencies or the governments around the world, trying to convince them to start reducing the maximum work hours for all the countries by like 5 to 10 hours per year until it gets down to like only 5 or 10 hours, period, for everyone. Because that way it isn't so jarring when there's no jobs to go to anymore, because most of it's going to be taken over by AI. And it was interesting to hear that. And at the same time, it's like, maybe that'll be amazing, because then we can do the things we truly love, play more music, spend time with our family and our loved ones and friends, and start helping and serving others without having to worry about money as much. That would be great. Sounds awesome. You have a book coming out?
Yeah, well, the book is probably going to be 2027, so depending on when this is aired. But I am constantly doing shoots as a photographer first and foremost, and love capturing soul-aligned businesses around the world. I do a lot of global campaigns. Upcoming will be in Greece and Spain, and then I'll be back based in South Africa. So you can always touch base with me to work in person as well. But the art of seeing is a methodology that I've been working on. It's my own thought leadership. It's my own way of seeing, and I'm very excited about it because I think that through shifting perspective, understanding our perception, that we have the ability to really shape and change our lives. I mean, there's just so much transformation that can happen just through understanding how perception works. And it's all through the framework of creativity, photography, manifestation, and neuroscience.
I love that. So thank you for being on the Women of Soul Aligned Business, and thank you for bringing more light and beauty and creativity into this world. And I hope everyone has an amazing day. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.